Okay, so are we ready to go, staff?
We're still just loading our live stream. We're almost there.
All right.
All right, the live stream is running and we are broadcasting, and there are currently no attendees signed in to this meeting.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order to recognize that we are meeting on the territories of the Untitled nations and that we respect and honor that. And I would also like to give a notice to attendees and delegates that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube on the Regional District website. So I'd like to ask for an approval of agenda.
So moved.
So we've
Second.
got Tanya.
Second, Beckett.
John Jack. So, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, so we have adoption of minutes for the Alberni Valley and Bamfield Services Committee meeting held June 17th, 2020. So, motion to adopt those minutes, Tanya and
John, second.
John Jack. So is there anything in those minutes that's problematic? So all those in favor? Anybody opposed? Carried. And the minutes of the Alberni Valley and Services Committee meeting held August 11th, 2020. Motion to adopt.
So
Second.
moved, John. Oh, John,
John
second.
And anything problematic in those? Seeing nothing, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Carried. We have no correspondence for action or information. We have requests for decisions and bylaws. So who wants to take this? Somebody, staff, I would imagine.
Thank you,
Don't see
Chair.
anybody running in there. The tipping fees for commercial.
I'll take this, Chair McNabb. Can
Okay.
you hear me? Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, John, you might need to scroll the whole screen if you're on your iPad. I think it only shows 9 or 12 people.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I got Jenny and I got Julia. So Jenny, that's going to take it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right, I've got you on screen.
Okay, so the first report here, we're looking to get approval to add commercial mixed recycling at the Alberni Valley landfill. We did cardboard commercial recycling, so we added in the 6-yard containers for tipping. And we did that because Recycle BC program actually is only for residential recycling, as you probably know, and we banned cardboard from the landfill. So we want to provide an avenue for businesses that are too small to really have their own basically 6-yard container for tipping. And so that's been going on for about a year now. We've seen that that's been very successful. So we're getting more and more cardboard being diverted. It's separate from the Recycle BC program. We really do have to keep it separate, and there is a cost to it. So we try to do a full cost recovery as much as possible. Now, since we've had that commercial cardboard, we've been getting feedback from the small businesses that they would also like mixed recycling. So again, this is a service that the local haulers like Waste Management and Waste Connections can provide. And so we can put a bin there. It does not include styrofoam, glass, or the flexible plastics that's specific to the Recycle BC program, but it does allow for all of the mixed containers and fibers, which is nice. So we're proposing that we add in those containers and then we update the bylaw, and we're looking at a rate of $200 a ton with a minimum $15 charge. We're fine for the most part, that minimum charge is usually what people end up paying because the volume of recycling has very little weight.
John Jack, Director Jack.
Yeah, I just had a question. I don't know if it was pointed out already, but in the Schedule A for the actual bylaw itself, the tipping fee has, I think, a typo of 120, or is that the old schedule?
I saw that this morning as well. So that's a typo. Yeah, when it goes to the board, we'll make that edit for sure.
That's why you highlighted it then. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? I mean, running a small business and looking at trying to recycle as much as we possibly can, I know that this is problematic. So, given an opportunity to deal with that, the other items, are we able to use the the Third Avenue landfill, or the Third Avenue recycling, once that gets up and going, like the optional plastics and other things that are recyclable, can businesses take them there at that point?
If a business would show up at Third Avenue and announce that they're a business and it's commercial material, it's not acceptable in the program. Those are the rules for the BC Recycle program. We are continuing to tell the province and communicate whenever the opportunity arises that we would like to expand that program so that it doesn't matter where it's being generated and it could come into the program. So currently we would be outside of our Recycle BC contract if we allowed commercial materials to come in.
So where are they to go? In the garbage? That seems pretty counterproductive.
It does. And at this point, we are working to expand the programs as we can and as the services are available.
Director Cote?
Thank you. So similar to small business, what about developments where apartment that has multiple residents? So how do they deal with this?
Multifamily is considered residential. So because that's a residential stream, they would be available to use any of the Recycle BC programs at the landfill at Third Avenue. There is also a program where they can sign up for collection through Recycle BC, and it's the Recycle BC Multifamily Recycling Collection. And so you can get that collected from the building.
Director Cote?
Thank you. On page 12, under charges Schedule A, says a weighing service of $10 each occurrence. So how does that fit in?
That's a fee that we have available. So if someone wants to just find out how much their truck weighs, we just charge them a rate because we don't want people running in and out of the landfill and asking for weights all the time.
So it really doesn't have anything to do with the solid waste.
It's a service we've always provided as a weighing service for anyone who wishes it. It's not accessed very often.
It applies if you're going to leave your truck at the landfill. Okay, anybody else on this? Okay, the recommendation is?
I have another question.
Okay.
Regarding the residential branches of $5 per load. I'm just thinking that is going to be an issue with people bringing their branches that used to be free to the landfill, and now they're going to be charged $5. So I think that this has been a discussion that's been going on for the past 15 years that I've known about how to get people to actually bring that debris to the landfill rather than dump it out in the bush or down the back alley or wherever. So I know I talked with Jenny earlier about this issue, and I think that it would be better put into our taxation and allow it to be continue to be free so that people actually bring it to the landfill rather than it being moved to another area. Thanks.
We are planning to do a comprehensive rate review that's going to look at bag fees as well as the wood waste, which we changed that rate in the spring. And so we'll have some good data to call on. And we're hoping to get that detailed review with all that information back to the AVB within, I think for the November 4th meeting is the next one that's scheduled.
So just to say on that particular item, the branches. So what's happened now is we've gone from the 1-inch branches being free to up to 4-inch branches being $5 a load. So a mixed load of small branches and big branches is $5 a load. Is that correct, Jenny?
So we have changed it so that basically we're trying to do a cost recovery for chipping costs. So anything that requires chipping, it goes into the chipping pile. And really, grass and leaves are the only things that don't require chipping. So those things we can compost without any costs versus things that require chipping. And that was sort of where we drew the line. We came up with a $5 fee, hoping to try and find a place that would allow us to at least recover enough money to pay for the cost of chipping, which is why we wanted to run it for a while to see how much money are we receiving, right, versus materials in order to cover our costs for chipping. But I would like to, again, pull all that data together and bring it back to the committee for review, and we can look at whether that's we want to continue or we want to look at different options, including perhaps a parcel tax. There's lots of different things we can do.
So from my personal experience of using this particular service, this is a lot better option than having to separate the small branches away from the big branches and take 2 loads out to the landfill. I've done quite a bit of this, and this is more cost effective than having a load of big branches and having to pay whatever it was. It was, I think the last one I took out was roughly around $20. And so at this rate, it would be $5 a load. I took 3 loads, I'd be ahead $5. So, I think it's a wash. I don't see this particularly problematic, but, the public is different than me. Did you have something else, Director Cote? And I see Director Bodner there too.
I did. So just that the report says grass and leaf material. That's no small branches. So the $5 per load, it's been debated for as many years as I've been on the board about how we deal with people depositing all of their garbage out in the forest. So I've heard from Mosaic, and I've also heard from the community forest that there's a lot of debris that's being, and garbage that's being dumped in those areas. Also, I walk around my community and I can see any kind of any of the road accesses or park land also. There's being deposits of branches mainly, but also garbage. So it is important that we make sure that people are educated and identify and that they need to put this into the landfill. I know that the city has just gone through, had a grant for collecting residential debris of that sort through the Fire Smart. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to do that again, or with all areas, so that people get the idea of doing this. They need something to stimulate them, I think, to actually identify, rather than showing up at the landfill and having a charge that they won't pay, because I think that they'll actually turn around and just take it out and dump it somewhere. So thanks.
Director Bodner.
Thank you. 2 things I wanted to mention. Penny, when you were talking about the where people are dumping things, there's a place just on the corner of Smith Road and the railroad tracks that people have been dumping there for ages, their branches and grass clippings and whatnot. And I noticed that hasn't really been used lately. So that's a positive thing. The other thing I wanted to know was what constitutes a load. I can come up with a little pickup, or I could come up with a huge, big dump truck full of mixed woods. So does size matter to the cost?
Size does not matter. It is per load. So if you're bringing it in one vehicle, that's 1 load. And that's what the cost is. I also wanted to mention that the the pickup program through FireSmart that Director Cote was speaking to, I just double checked, and it's actually available to anyone within the city, all of the electoral areas, everyone in the Alberni Valley, including First Nations. So that is a program that everyone can access, and it is a great program. And we're running it right now, I think until we run out of grant money, but until the end of the month. So.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, but you cleared it up, so that's good. Okay, so we have a first reading of this bylaw to go through. So is that what or what are we doing here? It's tough to get the agenda and the article itself here. One moment.
It's just a recommendation to take it to the board, and at the board we'll do the 3 read.
Okay, alrighty, let's do that then.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I'd like to make the motion. So should I read it out?
yes, please.
Okay, so I'd move that the Alberni Valley and Bamfield Services Committee recommend that the Albany-Clydequit Regional District Board of Directors approve adopting bylaw R1029-3, Alberni Valley Landfill Tipping Fee and Regulation Amendment 2020, to include a rate for commercial mixed recyclables at the Alberni Valley Landfill at $200 per ton with a $15 minimum charge.
Second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And any discussion on this, further discussion? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Nope, we're carried. Thank you. Okay, the next one is a request for decision with regards to Port Alberni Makerspace. Interesting. So is this another Jenny one? Okay.
Yes, I will.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So last year we entered into a lease with the Alberni Valley Makerspace Society so that they can use the upstairs of 3rd Avenue, which is currently unused. They're a new society, so they've been working really hard, but there's a lot of challenges with setting up a society. They've recently partnered with Literacy Alberni, and that's been good for both of them because they've really identified a lot of opportunities for grants and community partnerships to help them get moving a little faster on setting up a makerspace. So the project that they're working on cooperatively together right now is they want to do a grant application to the labor market training program under Work BC Employment Services. So the grant basically will provide money for them to help do the upgrades required in this space. And if you may remember that this space is very much a shell, we have a lot of, framed in walls without drywall, and there's no fixtures for plumbing. And so there's a lot of work that needs to get done in order to make it a usable space. And so they're putting an application in order to basically bring it up to be a high-end makerspace. And I really encourage the committee to support this recommendation because it will provide a lot of benefit to the community as an entrepreneurship incubation session, opportunity for training for local work. And yeah, I think they're doing great things, and I'm really happy that they're moving forward on this. So
any questions with regards to this? So my question with regards to this is, have we resigned ourselves that this space is of no value to us in the future?
we have a lease with the makerspace for 3 years right now, and they're allowed to use the space and make any improvements in order to make it work for them. That is all that we've committed to, and we don't have, and at the time when we entered into this lease, we felt that that was probably the best use of this space.
Okay. Alrighty, on the recommendation, somebody want to move that?
Hello, there's questions.
Okay, all right. So there weren't questions, now there are. Okay, so I've got Director Haggard and Director Cote and Director Bodner.
I was just going to make the motion, Mr. Chair.
You could do that, and we could have questions after that.
Okay. I'd like to move that the Alberni Valley and Landfill Services Committee recommend that the ACRD Board of Directors approve a letter of support for the Port Alberni grant application to the project-based labor market training program under Work BC Employment Services for the interior upgrades for the leased area of the upstairs of 3rd Avenue Recycling Depot.
You all second.
Okay, Director Minions. Okay, and questions, Director Cote and Director Bodner.
Thank you. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for our community. Just like a question though on, there was a zero cost on this lease.
$1.
So because of that, I'm not willing to put anything in. I don't know what this grant is, if it's 100% coverage or 50%, whatever. At this time, I don't think we have the ability to start renovating, paying for renovations there, but I'm sure that it will affect us somewhat because plumbing and things have to come through the building. So anyways, thanks. I think it's a great project.
Director Bodner?
Thank you. Would like to know then, if this goes through, would they be paying rent? And if they are paying rent, then where would that money go to?
So there's no financial requirements from us to upgrade the space. So all of the costs are on the shoulders of the Makerspace as a society, which is why they're applying for grants. They really aren't going to be using it to for profit. It's in order to make things and support programs. So there is very little expectation of any revenue source coming from that space. And if there is, it would offset probably just costs that they're going to be incurring. I believe there is a membership fee that they have to pay, but again, that might cover the cost of coffee and supplies and things like that. It's definitely not intended as a generator of money. It really is more of a social support for social development and opportunities within the community. And we receive we really had agreed to $1 a year, so that's our rent. We'll put it in the bank.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of this motion? Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay, now we have 2 reports. And I would suggest that probably Jenny again on this, or Douglas or somebody.
Correct. So
Yeah.
the
Sorry,
next
update of tipping fees pilot program.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can speak to that, Chair. So we ran the a pilot in Bamfield, and the idea was that currently we have quite a bit of large items that get dropped off the transfer station there. And we were hoping that if we said, listen, there's no charges if you drive that all the way to the landfill yourself, that we could reduce illegal dumping and or trying to manage some of the stuff that's dropped off the transfer station. So we sent out vouchers. Each property got 5 vouchers that was August, and we ran the pilot for 1 year. So we're just coming to the very end of that. So we did a report of wrap up, and we had 17 vouchers used, and we had sent out 1,125. So we're not really recommending to continue the pilot. There is a bit of administration involved in sending out the vouchers and managing the program. We did see 2.75, so almost 3 tons of waste that was hauled for us, and 17 loads. So we're just reporting out on how that went.
Okay. And other reports? Director Cote?
Thanks. I'd like to comment on this. I know that staff are recommending that not to move this forward, that the pilot is over, and they don't think there was a great success, but really almost 3 tons of waste brought into the program, I think has a significant merit. So because this is a very new service and COVID was happening, I'd like to see it continue for another year, but I'd like to also hear from the director from Bamfield as to what his perspective is on this. Thanks.
Perspective, Bob.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that, Director Cote. I think that is a very reasonable approach, given the tonnage, given COVID. The question that I was going to ask Jenny before you brought those valid points forward was, what was left at the station, the depot? Did we see a lot of stuff that got dropped off there that should have been driven into town to the dump?
We still have been getting some things that we've had to creatively get into the containers so that we can tip it into the truck. So it hasn't completely avoided that. So we're still seeing it. But obviously, since some was brought, it did alleviate some of that material.
And further to Director Cote's remarks, I appreciate, I mean, there's always administrative functions associated with any program that we run. Do you not think that this would gain some popularity and acceptance the second year going forward, you know, given the fact that it was a relatively new program?
It's very possible. If the committee would like to recommend to extend it for a year, then that is something that can be recommended.
So finally, Chair McNabb, I'm wondering, Director Jack, what your thoughts are, recognizing that ANACLA uses the facility as well. Could we get your thoughts, sir?
I do think it might warrant looking at one more time. I think in terms of what you'll see from the community this year and into the next might be depressed more, because a lot of the waste that does occur can pick up during an active tourist season, and that wasn't really what we saw here. There are other things that I think that could benefit in terms of having it there to see if it does take. At this point, though, I'm more reliant on what your sense is, though, Director Beckett, because our share of any of these programs is going to be so low as to not really matter. So if it's something that you think does warrant, then we'll probably do what we can to ensure that it is used more often. That being said, I think the benefit there is keyed into Bamfield, especially with the accessibility difficulties that it does have for some of its inhabitants, like access to the actual service.
So thank you, Director Jack, and I won't belabor this, Director McNabb or Chair McNabb. I do see an increase of construction going on in our community. I think so there's that aspect of it. I see that the Bamfield Community Affairs Society is gaining a foothold with respect to communications and its own governance, and I think it's an opportunity to spread the word about this program. And while I value your recommendations, staff's recommendations, always, I really liked Director Cote's recommendations and would concur that I would like to see this extended one more year. Thank you very much.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we do have a motion. I would like to just ask what the cost aspects of this are, as far as the whole service. How is this being funded, and what does that look like?
So the pilot is funded because it's all grouped into the Alberni Valley and Bamfield Waste Service. We currently fund the majority of that through tipping fees at the landfill, and we have a small portion that we recover through taxes in Bamfield, and that's been set at a fixed rate, and we haven't adjusted that amount in some time. So in theory, the cost for transportation comes out of that. I think it's about $60,000 that we have that we tax for, and so tipping, that includes the tipping fees. So when we waive these tipping fees and we get that free transportation, in theory, we might be reducing our transportation costs. it's very difficult to be definitive about that. We were able to reduce our transportation costs this summer because of COVID and reducing waste collection. And so it is a tough year to compare.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to extend this program. Is there any other questions with regards to it? Comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. That's it? If nothing else? Yes, Ms. Byrne.
I have one more, just a verbal report. We're working on the upgrades at the Alberni Valley Landfill. So that's partly because obviously we're doing the organics diversion and we need to make changes there in order to allow the organics to be diverted. So we're working on some draft layouts and we're hoping to bring that to maybe a special AVB committee on September 16th, just in order to present what that's going to look like and get comments and feedback from the committee. We also, as you know, we've expanded the stewardship programs and a lot of recycling diversion streams at the landfill. So we kind of need to address that and reconfigure how things are working at the landfill. And we're hoping to do that all at once.
Okay, and are we still on stream for October 1st, 2nd for 3rd Avenue? So
far, so good. We are lighting a fire on everyone on that one.
So I have a garage full of other recycling, so I'm looking forward to that. Yes, Director Cote.
Thank you. So that brings to mind that I think that there's a lot of people like Director McNabb that are sitting on a bunch of recycle at home. Maybe we should try and feather it in, like Beaver Creek one day, Sprout Lake another, just because I think we're going to be overwhelmed to begin with. I really think an approach like that would be quite warranted. Thanks.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. It was one of the things that our consultants had recommended, that we try to go by electoral area. I appreciate that, and I wish we could. The logistics of making that happen are just enormous. Instead, it's going to be, we're going to promote it. We're going to say, obviously, it's been closed for a while. Be patient. And don't forget, the landfill also accepts most of these materials. So please don't forget to use the landfill. So
I've got a big garage. We'll do okay. Director Jack.
So in the event that the chair might be able to get around this, but one of the solutions that I've seen for reducing the load on a landfill or something like that is, rather than restricting on the district or like where you're from, because it's hard to verify, what you do is, on just like with watering, you do either the first or the last digit or the first digit of a number in the license plate. If it's odd, you can go on odd days. If it's even, you can go on even days. It's more enforceable, but sometimes people don't know it, right? We would have to communicate it, but ostensibly that is something we could do. Because I think every license plate has a number in it, except for the ones that don't. And then those are the special plates, and I don't know if other people have those or how many they do, but I do think it is an option. Those of you who may have more vehicles to get around it, I think you get to go around it. That's what I was mentioning. Or the chair, I think he has a couple of trucks. I don't know if they're insured though.
But I do have personalized plates. Yay!
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on this? Okay, that's it. Motion to adjourn. Oh, no, we have questions from the public, but I don't think we have any public. Is that correct?
If I may, Mr. Chair. So we're giving
Sure.
2 opportunities for the public now to submit comments and input into agenda items. So one is if they can participate on Zoom and they can request to speak during question period. Today we don't have any attendees on Zoom, but we're also still offering the option for the public to email responses at acrd.bc.ca with any input. And I'll just report that today we have not received any input to that email address.
Okay, I appreciate that. And everybody note that we do have a special meeting on the 16th of September, so we'll have an opportunity to discuss more Alberni Valley and Bamfield issues. So with that, a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconder, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Oh, man. Okay, we're off. Thanks.
Take care,
Douglas.
everyone.
See everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That desk is amazing, Douglas. The one behind you.